And what I've started to do now with my web design clients, because I know that they have so many questions, that's one of the bonuses they get of getting a membership inside of the academy. So then I can work with them and they see me doing all this other stuff. So I'm working on it. It's like
That's beautiful.
yeah, like a little clay thing because
Yeah.
and what cemented me in that, it was one of your videos in, I think it was a web designer course, where you said, your people are going to have questions, maybe create a page that's not customer facing and just give them the link to it. And you tell them all this stuff. I was like, well, shoot, I got over 300 videos. That's what I'm going to do. So I started the people who came in to do websites. I knew they would need marketing. So I'm like, hey, and you get a membership in the Unmarketing Academy. And that's how I'm building it right now.
Welcome to the Web Design Business Podcast with your host, Josh Hall, helping you build a web design business that gives you freedom and a lifestyle you love.
It's fine and dandy having you here on this episode, my friend, especially because we're having a fun chat on this one. A member of my Web Designer Pro community, Carol Dunlop, first off, is a seasoned business owner and entrepreneur of over 30 years that she's been in this industry. So early internet days is when she got going, and she is still standing today and up to some awesome stuff today. And she actually interviewed me for her podcast, which is called the Unmarket Your Business podcast. And it was a really great conversation we had about community building, online community, but more specifically, and I think how this is going to help you, is how to potentially create a membership or a community for your web design clients. So you may be at a place in your business, or maybe eventually, that you want to stay in better contact with your clients. And you may have a website maintenance or support plan. You may have some sort of growth plan, but one additional option available nowadays for web designers is to actually have a customer membership or a support membership. Or in the case of what Carol is up to, she actually has a marketing academy. It's like a marketing membership primarily for her customers. So she had a lot of questions after being a member of Web Designer Pro about what I've learned in building that to such a sustainable place today, what I've learned in how to build an online community, how to run it, how to balance. If you are doing web design work, you probably want to know how to balance a community and a membership along with your service work, how to sell it and when to sell it in the process of landing a client and then supporting them ongoing, where to price it and how to price it in a way that works for you, depending on if you are mixing in information with community and potentially coaching. So all of those things are covered and more in this chat. I want to say a special thanks to Carol for having me on her podcast, which again is the Unmarket Your Business podcast. You can find that at unmarketyourbusiness.com. And a big thanks for her allowing me to repurpose this for you, because I really enjoyed this chat. And because this is something we've talked about a lot inside of my community, Web Designer Pro, I thought, let's make this a little more public and see if it helps you. If you're at a place where you want to build your MRR, build a community, or if you just want to see what it's like and to hear from somebody who's doing it. So here is Carol, and a big thanks for her allowing us to listen into this chat on the Web Design Business Podcast. Here we go.
All right, as I promised before, this is the man, the myth, the legend, Josh Hall. He's sitting there like, what is she talking about? But I told Josh, he can't get rid of me now, because when someone does something amazing for me or changes my mindset or whatever, they're just in my head forever. And I just always talk about them. So I just wanted to say welcome, Josh. I usually come on first and talk and all of that, but we get into this thing because guess what? Josh told me I could ask him anything. So, oh my goodness, I'm ready.
I'm so excited to be here with you, Carol. We have had a DM relationship basically since you joined my community, Web Designer Pro. So I'm so excited to finally, meet you on camera here and be on your podcast. I'm a podcast host, and I don't want to immediately start asking you questions, but I have to know. Because you teased me with this idea of what I helped you, with your mindset. What was something that stuck with you? Like what has made, Pro and what I'm up to?
Okay. But let me start out first, because I'm a marketing person and a salesperson, right? So I know about that. I know when I hear the marketing speak, I know when I hear the sales speak, and either if it's good or bad or whatever, I'm going to say, or hey, I got to do that. So just so y'all know, this was how Josh and I started out. I think I messaged him because he, in one of his, I think it was one of your podcast episodes, you talk about manage WP. I can't even remember what it's called, to, help organize your websites and all that stuff. Well, unbeknownst to you, it was taking me like hours, it was saying, to update all those plugins, to do all the stuff you needed to do. And I was just, and it'd been going on for a while. I was like, it's got to be something better. I was even trying to get my husband to do it. I was like, you can do this. It's like, I ain't doing that. So he would not. I was like, can you just help me? I was like, because he likes that back end stuff. He only does certain things. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I was listening to you, and you said, y'all got to try Manage WP. What is the name of it? Is it Manage WP?
Yeah, Manage WP. Yeah.
Okay, because I'll switch those names around in a minute. I do want to give them credit where credit is due, because they are totally awesome. So I was like, what is this thing he's talking about? Then I was digging in all of your episodes. I was looking on YouTube when you were talking about that. And I was like, let me go check it out. So I did. And I started using them. They cut like hours down to minutes. Oh my God. It's just so amazing how this one thing just helped my life. It put time back in my life. I was like, oh, okay. So I remembered you from that. And I had been stalking you for a while. I would look at some of the people you would interview and stuff, and I would even do some of the things. I remember when your last child was born, and you had sent an email saying, hey guys, I'm going to be out of commission for a minute. We're having some things going on. And I know I prayed for you and your family and all of that. So I'm like, I've been invested in you for a long time, just whether you know it or not. So anyway, I was using Manage WP. And one of my sites had got hacked, not my sites, my client sites, because they weren't listening to what I was telling them to do anyway. And they got hacked. And I said, oh my God, now I got to go back and it was like, I think before we even discovered it, maybe 2 weeks or so. So I knew I didn't think that I had the latest backup to put them right back up. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I went in, Managed WP, looked at the thing, and I was like, oh my God, they have backups from like way back. So I backed it up to, I think, a month. It was boom. I didn't have to do nothing. Just hit a button and it did it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is really amazing. So I messaged them and I said, hey, thank you so much for being a great service. I love what you do. And it was just all glowing, right? They even answered me back and said, wow, we get all kind of crazy messages all the time, but none like this. Thank you so much. So I guess I'm up in their thing too. So then I remembered, because I'm the kind of person I like to give credit where credit is due. I remembered that you were the one who told me about this whole Managed WP thing. And you said, go do it. It'll save your time and all of that. And I emailed you and I was like, Josh, thank you so much for this. You don't know how much you changed my life and blah, 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 blah. And y'all, this is what he said. He's like, Carol, are you in my maintenance course? Isn't that how we met? I was like, no, not yet. We got to get you in there. That was the start of it. I was like, okay, what is that? What's the maintenance course? Because I had looked at your courses before and I had actually thought, wow, this looks like something I ought to do. And you had them all together in a big bundle, for one price. And I was like, okay, that's on my radar. So I already knew about it, but I had never thought about the maintenance course like that. And you're like, yeah, you got to get in there because blah, 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 blah. And right now you can get in the community. And, we just chat and stuff. And I was like, okay. So I got in there and I said, I think I put my thing, hey, everybody, I'm whoever, blah, blah, blah. And everybody was just so awesome. I mean, totally awesome. They were like, welcome. And this is great. I love your profile. Thanks for being here. And then the ultimate kicker was that, I bet you didn't know you were this good, did you? The ultimate kicker was that you sent me a Loom video when I joined the community, and you went to my site and you said, oh, I see you already got. So it didn't even matter what you even said. Just that video your casual, like, I think they call it folksy, but I don't think it's folksy. I think it's your genuine you, how you are. And I was hooked. I was really hooked. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just dive in and do this thing. And I think I told you this in writing, but the first month after I joined, our revenue went up 43%.
So awesome.
43%. What?
So awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Carol. That's a great, and actually it's a great reminder, and it just shows me like what I'm doing as far as how I'm marketing is working by having a podcast, doing a lot of free content. I try to be as present and open as I can with lines of communication via email and stuff. It's getting harder now, but I can tell when somebody like you who's genuine and actually is not using like a template, sales script when they're emailing me. So when you said, hey, I started using Managed WP, I really appreciate it. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I think you had said you're a listener of the podcast. So I don't remember hard selling you as hard as I did, but hey,
you didn't.
Okay,
you
that's
did
good.
not hard sell me at all.
I think at that point, it's like I just laid it out there. I have learned it's like if you got a good offer, just lay it out there. And
that's the thing.
I was just like, Carol, I think you would rock at this. So I'm so glad that. And then to hear that the personal video, I've been doing those personal welcome videos for like 5 years now.
Wow.
And I'm always reminded of how powerful those are. So I always encourage everyone, no matter what industry you're in, send personal videos to your clients, especially new clients. It's like you can make a lifetime client by sending a quick video and saying, welcome in.
So true. That is so true. Because number one, they're not expecting it. And I had done it for a little bit, then I stopped. And then you made me realize a lot of things, but you made me realize how that little personal touch, something that you do on the regular, it impacts someone so much. And I have this story to tell you that I haven't told anybody yet, but I'm working on this client's website. And she came to me because she said, Carol, I need to talk to you because I had someone else look at my website, and I don't think they were telling me the whole story, but I know that you would tell me the whole thing. You would be truthful and tell me what you think. I was like, oh yeah, I'll tell you what I think. And I did. I told her, this don't look right. That's not good. It's not powerful enough, blah, blah, blah. This is good. I like these colors. You could do more. And she was like, okay. So she signed up with me that day to get her website done. Right. So awesome. We're with the holiday and stuff like that, it should be finished in about a week or so. Right. So I got everything together for her. I knew I get these visions, I have to say spiritual downloads from God, who tells me what I need to do for a client, how to make them go, wow, oh my God, that's what I want, right? So I knew that her site just really wasn't powerful, and she was too powerful for her site, but her site did nothing for her. It was just like elementary, and she was all the way up in graduate school, right? So I just sat down and I just let my flow go, let things happen. And I did her homepage. Well, first I sent her the copy. I did all the copy for the homepage, the services page, and the about page, and I sent it to her. And I came up with this title for her, the Storyteller's Architect. That was just haunting me in my dreams, the Storyteller's Architect. And because what she does is she puts people on podcasts. She's a podcast booking agency, right? Christian podcast. And I was like, the Storyteller's Architect. I was like, that'll be good. So I had that in the copy, and she was like, oh my God, Storyteller's Architect. Oh, I never even thought of that. Oh, wow. I mean, from the copy, she was doing this, right? So then I sent her the first draft of the homepage after I got it like I wanted it and stuff. And I just knew from the pictures in my head, I wanted her to be standing tall. That's the first thing that you see. And then she has all these people in her background that she has actually helped to put on podcasts. And I thought that would be really powerful, right? So she's so funny. She got the email. She set up a camera to take her reaction as she looks at the website. And I can't even use a video because she's in a robe. She has no makeup on, just casual. And so she's like, I'm recording this. And she's looking straight ahead at the thing. And she was like, okay, I'm clicking the thing. And she clicks and she's like, oh my God.
So you got to see the
God.
wow reaction.
Yes. So awesome. So I got to use that some kind of way.
Oh,
right?
you have to use it. That's amazing. I mean, hey, if she sent it over to you, as long as, got the
I
road
would
at
think
least.
blur out.
Yeah, right.
Blur out. Like,
Uh-huh.
no, don't even, but just the reaction. Oh my God.
Oh,
Wow.
that's amazing. That's cool too, because typically web designers either don't see a reaction, or you might be at like a coffee shop and you show a client and then they may be a little subdued because you're there, but
Yeah.
that seems like a real natural reaction. So that's amazing.
That was great. I'm going to do something with it. I'm about to show her. I just actually sent her before we got on here. I just actually sent her the about page. I know she's probably going to fall out on the floor for that. So
Sweet.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
That's
All right.
great.
I know, y'all. We have gotten off track a little bit, but not that much. So, Josh, I wanted to ask you, really introduce yourself to the audience and tell them what you're about. But the question I have for you is, how do you get traffic to your website?
So right now, I'll start with that. It's mostly my podcast. I host the Web Design Business Podcast, and it's not a clever name, but it is very clear about what it is. So I really have focused more over the past few years on the business of web design. And then that funnels to, just like for you, Carol, it funnels to my community, Web Designer Pro, which now has all of my courses. I have courses that help web designers with the business of their web design business. And it's a community, and it has a coaching element too, for those who want more direct access to me and coaching. So yeah, my podcast is my main driver though. I also have a YouTube channel that has grown over the years. I used to do tutorials on Divi, which is what I use for building websites, and then WordPress, which is the platform, and then some more entrepreneurial and web design business related videos. So those are my two primary engines, but the podcast is the one, like 90% plus of members who join Pro immediately say, I've been listening to the podcast. I've been listening to the podcast. So very excited to see that you reignited your podcast, because while there's tons of shows out there, it's still such a powerful tool.
It is.
Yeah. That's it's kind of my main marketing avenues. I'm not terribly big on social media. I use it more of a connector with my audience. And then, as far as getting new traffic, it's podcast, YouTube. And then I'm doing more and more like summit presentations and workshops for partners and stuff like that.
That all sounds good, because inquiring minds want to know, because that's what this podcast is about, how to get more traffic to your website. Because if it's one thing that even web designers look at, not to think about coaches and marketers, we all want traffic to the website, and everybody's trying to tell you all these little tricks. And sometimes it's just the good old fashioned stuff, like getting on a podcast, talking, promoting your stuff and putting it out there. Because I feel like when you do a podcast, you get in people's brains, right? And you make them think. And when they think, if they have an idea that you sparked, like I did with you, they're always going to remember, because I always kept going back to your YouTube channel and your podcast and the things that you were saying. I mean, you helped me a lot even before I met you. And then just sealing the deal, coming in on that first program, and then getting inside the community, it just piles it on. Like, okay, you're in there forever. And you're right. A lot of people, even this last, I think a lady that came from the UK, and she says, I've been stalking you for a while, and I finally said okay. But the community is the thing that kind of got me there when you were talking about it, and it's the thing that keeps me there. And really, I have very selfish reasons for having you on the podcast with me today, because I have a community, an academy, the Unmarketing Academy. And I love the way your community works. I love that people are engaged, that people talk to each other, that people even hire each other. So how did you tell us the details? I want to know, how did you get all that to start happening? What was the first thing in your brain? I know you couldn't have imagined years ago that it would turn out like this.
There really wasn't a clear vision. So I'm 4 years into it now with this community. And it started initially because I had actually had a suite of courses years ago, and I got students in my courses, but they're all kind of separated and fragmented. And I actually previously had I had Facebook support groups for each
Mm.
course. So I had a bunch of different groups and support,
Oh,
and it was
wow.
just all over the place. A lot of challenges with that. So
Yeah.
I got to a point where I knew once I had a lot of different courses, I started having students join all the courses together. I was like, man, I'd love to bring them together. So initially I thought, should I have like a student support group? I don't know. I felt kind of odd with that. And then this platform called Circle came out in 2020. And I'm a fan and friend of Pat Flynn and Matt Gartland with Smart Passive Income, which is a pretty
Mhm.
popular online podcast and community. They started using Circle,
Mm.
and I felt like, okay, I feel like I could trust them, and therefore I'm
Right.
going to trust it. I really enjoyed the experience. I looked at a couple different platforms, but I say that because before deciding to build a community, I wanted to make sure I felt really good about the experience and the tool I was going to use. So I fell in love with Circle, and that's when I created, it was originally called the Web Design Club. So prior to
Mm.
becoming Web Designer Pro, the club was basically a way to get just my current students together and have community and an element of coaching in there. So it initially launched in the fall of 2020, and I think we had 32 or 33 founding members in the initial launch. And here's what's interesting about that, Carol, is I was very, I don't want to say disappointed, but I was kind of like, bummer. Like I really was hoping to launch with like 100 members.
Right.
Not,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
only financially, but I just, I had at that point hundreds of students. I think I was closing in on 700 or 800 students at that point. So I kind of thought that a lot more would want the community, but we only had 30 some. But in hindsight, that was like the best thing ever because
Mhm.
those 30 members very quickly became a glued in core. A lot of the people who are super active today in pro are still a lot of those 30 some members in the initial wave. So my moral of the story and lesson that I learned when I started was starting small with a community is good because you get real-time feedback, you get to know your members very well,
Mhm.
and then it just kind of grew organically from there. Initially, it started off, my business model prior to last year in 23 was it was courses first, then a
Mhm.
membership second. So I would sell courses and then I'd have the membership for those who want to go deeper. And then
Right.
when Circle eventually added course functionality, that's when I put everything together and then renamed it and rebranded to Web Designer Pro. So you just get everything. And now there are
Yeah.
different levels to get everything. So it grew small. And started small and grew slowly but steady, which I've also found is really good because I have had
Mhm.
waves of new members, but then that can be tricky because you don't get to really give them the experience if there's like 20 people who join at once. So
Yeah.
slow and steady, and then just the numbers have gone up and to the right every month. And with recurring revenue, as you know, those things stack up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a slow burn. It's a painful build sometimes in
Mhm.
the first year or two, but man, once those numbers start to compound, it's freaking awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I started and built the momentum for pro.
And not even not having a clue. How am I doing this? I'm just doing that. But I look at you like, wow, he's got this great thing going as I've been working on my academy. But then I think, I see the work that you put into that thing. And I do not, honest to God, I do not put that much work into the academy. Not like I'm leaving it out in the ocean or something, but
Mhm.
there's other things that I've had to get together. Like, for instance, when I first came to you, we had done web design for years, and then I'd say about 10 years ago, we added in marketing because we knew that all the pretty websites in the world, they don't get you anything if nobody sees them, right? So like, let's start marketing. So I did marketing. I did social media marketing at first, and then I wrote my first book, which went to #1 international bestseller. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I could be doing this part. But I always had it was a problem putting the website design and the marketing together because am I a web designer who does marketing, or am I a marketer who also does web design? And then when I met you and you were like, hey, you need to be selling more of your web maintenance stuff, which we had already started doing that about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, doing web maintenance. And I wanted to grow that part of the business because maintaining the website that you created is just top of the line, because then you get clients forever, right? And they love you, and then they won't trust their website with anybody else. I'm like, I gotta have Carol. Da, da, da. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna put this together. And with one magic stroke, you go, look, you can do websites, you can maintain websites, and you can help people market their websites. I have been asking that question forever. How do I put these things together? And then I got in with you and the group and stuff, and it just came together. So I changed immediately. I changed the thing on the front. I think it said create something and something else, and I can't create something and convert. But now it's create, protect, and market.
Awesome. Yeah, because my framework is build, support, grow.
Yeah,
and you can take that idea and rename it, or put anything you want around that. But yeah, you had like 2 out of the 3, and then you had that really important missing piece, which is just to support. And then because as people turn on and off marketing, and they'll ramp up, they'll ramp down, but you always want to get clients to pay you something month to month, ideally. So support plan is just, it's such a great way to go. I'm so glad it's worked out for you.
Oh yeah, me too, because I'm increasing those web maintenance people. Because for me, now that I have the web maintenance thing down, and I know I can give them quality service and all of that, which is what I think we all want. We all want to give our clients quality service. We want to give them as much of us as we can, but not too much. And then we want to save time for our lives, which I have to say, you do that. You got 3 kids, you got the wife, you got your business going on, and you still get in there and you talk to us all the time. You're jokey and helping us and all of that. And I was like, does this man have a life? And yes, he does. He has a life. He has a wife. He has kids, and you're always bringing your kids in and stuff. So I just love it. That's I think the feeling that I want for my academy. And then I just learned something from you today. Starting out slow, going through that is not that bad.
Yeah, especially with a community. It's so different when you have a service or a product that you sell, because you, like with courses, I was able to, get 100 students at once, and it was fine. Other than a Facebook support group, really wasn't that big of a deal. But when it is a community is by nature so different than a support group or even a big, large Facebook group, because there are, if you want to reduce churn, which means you keep people coming back, you've got to have a sense of cohesion. And there's definitely a lot to it. I mean, I've learned, I really have been very proactive at increasing engagement, tagging people, getting in there, doing better at, and it helps that Web Designer Pro is small by nature. It is a premium small group. If Pro was a 10,000 person group, it'd be really hard for me to keep track of everybody, which is why we have a gated capped tier now for coaching members. Cause I know you, I know your business, I know what you're up to. So that helps too, because I know if someone joins, I'm like, oh, you got to meet Carol, and I'll intro you or tag you. So it is a lot as a community builder. But I found that once you get a community or a membership to a place where people really start interacting with each other, it takes a life of its own on. And then not that I sit back, but now, I mean, I log into Pro most every day, but there's a day where I could let Pro go and like for a day, and it would be all right. It would self-sustain. It doesn't need me all the time because members have made it. You guys, like, you're a huge part of it now. You make Pro what it is. So many people make Pro what it is. It's become, it's not like Josh's club anymore. It's Web Designer Pro. So all that to say, though, yes, it's been a lot of hard work. Community building is very time intensive. It is hard work. You're seeing it at a place now where it's more mature. So I have my systems down. I have times of day where I go in a span of an hour, I'll cook through as many comments as I can and post and DM, and then I move on to, podcasting or a different work block. But I will say I'm kind of glad I built my community when I was full-time online education. I do think it would be really hard to balance a growing online community and do service work and do a bunch of other projects, because it is very intensive, at least if it's an ongoing community. So it can happen, but I think that's one edge I had is I wasn't an agency owner full time when I started Web Designer Pro. I had already sold my agency, so I was able to dedicate fully to that.
I like that. I like the way you said it. It gives me hope. It really gives me hope because in 2025, my plan is to really focus more on the membership piece because they're like children. You have to focus on it. You have to get rid of those little tangles and you have to kind of mold them a little bit. And you have to be there because I have members in there and I have people who look to me for things that I do. But, I know it takes more work. And, I just had some other things that had priority over that, like moving to Mexico. So
and one thing I would say, I don't want to discourage anyone who also has, an agency or a full-time something else, because you can definitely still build a thriving community. But I would just have an approach of like, if I was running an agency and doing Web Designer Pro 2, I would probably try to have like a month or two that is like highly engaged with a challenge or a sprint or something. And then have a couple months where you just kind of let the community do its thing and check in, as much as you can, or maybe do a monthly AMA or a Q&A or something. I would have that approach though, to where there's season, it's almost seasonal. Like you hustle for a season, back off for a season. If I were managing it, I mean, right now it's my primary source of income. So it's my job. Like my main thing is being in pro. But if it was just a part of what I was doing, I would have a hustle and chill approach.
That's kind of what I'm doing now because I do the, I do master classes once a quarter. So I didn't.
Okay, awesome.
This quarter was just blown. So starting first quarter, if y'all are listening, starting first quarter next year, I'll be having the master classes, again. So that'll be 4. And then, but I'm getting ready to do a mixer because I did it the first time last year. And it was just a mixer of the members, people who are thinking about being members, people had no idea. And we just got together for a little holiday mixer. So I'm going to do that again, probably in the next week or so coming up. And that just, keeping interest going until I can get more energy in there. But
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you for 3 lessons that you've learned from doing the online community, the membership and stuff, just 3 of the top lessons that you learned from doing that.
Personal videos, personal welcome videos, big one. I've learned that you have to email people separately and often. So we have, as you know, as a member of Pro, you can RSVP for events and calls that you have access to, and you'll get automatic notifications from Circle. But I actually have a whole separate series of emails that go out. Like when we do our weekly calls, the day before you get a heads up, tomorrow we're having a call at this time. One of my favorite tips that I've learned with my community, I'm shocked at how many people click this email. It's a live now. So every week you probably get them. I don't know if it's annoying, but it works. So I'm not turning it off. It's, hey, we're live now. And even people, because people are busy, they may see it the day before and be like, oh yeah, I want to join Carol at noon tomorrow. And then they forget, or they're head deep in a project. So the ongoing additional emails have been a huge help. And I'm shocked at how many people open those alongside of their emails from Pro. So that's another big lesson I'd say that have helped me keep people engaged is the personal welcome videos. And I know that I will have a lot more dialogue initially with members on the coaching tier like that, but that tends to taper off. It's not ongoing. Like I'm not, messaging 200 people a day. It's usually like 6 to 12. It's like half a dozen to a dozen that I'm interacting with. And if I, like, for example, if you and I are DMing, I give you tips, then you're usually off going on it for a few weeks or a month or so.
Right.
So that has helped. The personal video, knowing it'll be a little more time intensive at first, the additional marketing and the email marketing. The other thing that I think is the biggest benefit is having a wins and successes thread. For wins and successes. Like that's what I go back to. It's where a lot of my testimonials come from. It's probably the most popular space in Pro. Like, and for members, if you want to see what's working today in web design, there you go. The people are sharing. I just got 2 clients. This is what I did. So those 3 things combined, I think have really helped ongoing maintain engagement and inspiration. And with me being at the helm of it and having a personal touch that, like for you, you still reference that experience of that personal video, all those things have
Right.
really helped. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
which ties into this, is with your membership, are there different industries of people? Like people in different industries, different
Sort of,
parts of the
kind of.
market?
It's mostly for coaches and service providers.
Yeah.
So they can be a productivity coach, a life coach, a transformation coach, or they could be a service provider like a web designer, like I am, or a VA or something.
The
So
only
those
reason that
are the. Go
I
ahead.
asked that because I do think that's one thing that helps pro is we're all web designers. Primarily,
Yeah.
there's actually some folks who are community builders like
Hmm.
yourself, and you're doing web design as a part of your business. But it does help that naturally everyone's a web designer, so there's a common
Yep.
thread. I think with a community like yours and anyone who has a community of different industries, my recommendation would be to try to group them with the other folks who are like that. So
Hmm.
if you were to have a space for coaches, a space for creatives or designers, that way they know who are my people in this community. That way, when I post about something about website related, if John is a business coach and he doesn't know anything about websites, we're not going to have a common ground with that. So,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of benefits too to having people with expertise in different areas, because John may suddenly see my post about web design and be like, "Ooh, I need a website."
Right.
Or John might post something about speaking and I don't know anything about public speaking. So awesome. I can learn from him. So there's pros and cons, I think, to having a diverse in the way of
Mhm.
like industry group versus, in Web Designer Pro, it's in the name. You're probably going
Yeah,
to be a web
web
designer.
designers. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
not that many. I know a couple of big ones out there, but my thing is all about marketing. That's what glues my people together, about marketing, because they don't know anything about marketing, or they know very little about marketing. And then when they get in there, they're asking the same questions. How do I do a funnel? How do I hook this up to my email marketing? What about social media? So that's how the whole thing started, because I was doing, and this, people are listening out there, this may be good for you too. I was doing these lives every Monday, and then I went to every Friday, and then I did every Tuesday. I think I picked every day of the week to kind of do them on. And I did them for like 5 years, right? Every that I have video trainings, or all trainings. And I said, I'm going to put them together in a marketing academy so that you can go there and look. If you want to find something about email marketing, boom, there you go. If you want something about social media, if you want to know about, now it's books and summits and podcasts. So that's a glue that kind of holds them all together, because I had this thing called the Unmarketing Inner Circle. I ran that for 2 years, and it was the same thing. We all came in, I would coach them twice a month. And that's what, I was like, oh, this is good. But it was like $199 a month, and you get 2 sessions. So I'm like, hey, let's put them over here, charge them $97 a month, and you can have access to all this stuff. And then I do the masterclass trainings on top. So
Gotcha. Well, you have a great setup. I actually didn't realize the extent of everything you had in there. So yeah, if it's an engagement thing, I think it's honestly just worthwhile, being as personal as you can and individually checking in with people, introducing people to
yeah.
each other, and collecting those wins, sharing those testimonials. One thing that's really helped pro, you mentioned it early on, is having members on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that I could do that as a one-on-one call, but then it's like, what a shame no one else heard that. So if
Right,
they're open to
exactly.
sharing, especially if they're open to sharing numbers, I mean, I
Mhm.
love when people are open about that, because I think it's really important, not in a boastful way, but people need to know what's possible and what people are
Yeah.
charging. So I
Mhm.
love when people are open about, hey, I made $8,000 on this or whatever. It's so helpful. So yeah, I've really, like, probably 30% of my podcasts now are members of pro. And sometimes they have areas of expertise. Like you saw recently, Alexia just
Mhm.
did a presentation. She was on the podcast. She came up with this launch plan for
I
designers that
know.
was genius. I was like, this is so much better than anything I ever did. Would you like to come on the podcast and then do a training in pro? So I'm really utilizing, well, that sounds mean, but I'm like, I'm utilizing the members and their
Yeah.
expertise to grow the community. So I don't have to create another training.
But it helps them as well. And I
Mhm.
have I was so impressed by Alexia in the beginning when I first got in there, because I'm always, I got my eyes open for, hey, this person would be good, or hey, that, or that's how I did the women of color web designer panel. That's how I put
Mhm.
them together. Alexia, by the time this comes out, Alexia's thing will already have run, and she's talking about Brandon. She's amazing. I think girl was like 27 years old. I'm like, you got an old soul and you know a lot for 27 years old. I was so impressed with her. Oh my goodness. So, to me, the community that you have helps me in several ways. It helps me learn more about being a web designer. Yay. It helps me learn tips and tricks and what other people are doing, and the different levels that people are at. That's good. But it also is a place where I can look for podcast guests, summit, JV partners, all of that. Because some of the people that are in there, I don't do their stuff. I do copywriting, but I'm not a copywriter. So I have an episode that I'm going to do with a panel of copywriters, and I have my eye on one girl who was in did one of the trainings. I can't, Abby or Annie or something like that. I can't remember her name, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
look her up.
Abby. Yeah.
Yeah, and get her on, because she was amazing, right, with her copywriting. And people don't know about these things. So I just love, I love community anyway. And I love having vibrant, engaging people in there that make it exciting. And I think that that's what your community does. It helps me to think. And I'm always in there. Like, yours is the only community I'm probably in, like, just about every day. Seriously. Either I'm reading, or I'm replying, or I'm thanking, or I'm putting a win or something up. So it's a good thing. I mean, you've created a great, great thing. Now, before I let you go, I know that you have some type of challenge that you would like for people to do. Maybe they're thinking about doing a membership, or maybe they're like, wow, I got all these videos just like Carol does. Maybe I can put it in an academy, or I got all these courses like Josh has. Maybe I can join Circle or do something. What would you say to them? How would you help them get started with this?
I have found that there's a lot of power with the big 3 C's, which are courses, community, and coaching.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is, if you can figure out a way, especially if you do have resources or information that you want to package up in some way, and have community, and have you do some sort of coaching with that, which could be as little as like a Q&A a month, just
Mm-hmm.
showing up to answer questions. There really is a lot of power in those 3 things combined, because you get courses, the info if you want it, depending on where you're at, what you're looking
Right.
for. You get community support, and you don't feel so alone. Get to partner up with people, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if there is, I mean, there's got to be, the thing with a community is there's got to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a leader, it just it just fizzles or goes all over the place. Like, you need somebody at the helm. So for anyone who's interested in that, I would say, heads up, a hidden thing you'll probably need to be working on is personal growth and leadership.
Yeah.
Like, being a community builder is mostly leadership. It's mostly
Yeah.
leadership stuff. You're dealing with different personalities. You're dealing, every once in a while, you'll get some conflict. Luckily, Pro has been like, I better knock on some wood.
Yeah. A lot of work. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I've deleted one comment
Oh,
in
wow.
Pro in
Oh,
4 years,
mm.
because it was just like, that wasn't, and it was some guy who was trying it out, and it just was not it was like, yeah, that's not cool. Like, we don't talk, that's not how we roll here.
Right.
I'm big on free speech and being yourself, but if something is like, tearing somebody down, that's
Yeah.
not happening. So that's the
Right.
only time I've ever had to delete something. But that comes with, anytime you have a bunch of people together, there's going to be another side of that, which is managing people and
Right.
fostering the vibe. And I think if you're who you are, like, you're going to attract and continue to attract people who are like you, Carol, who are fun and
Mhm.
charismatic and want to have fun doing their business and
Mhm.
do a lot of different things. So I think all that to say, though, like, community, coaching, and courses, if there is a way to get those in there, it's just 3 avenues of keeping people there. Because if you
Mhm.
just have courses, somebody may want community and go elsewhere. They may want
Right.
coaching and go elsewhere. Vice versa. If you just do coaching, coaching is great, but if you don't have any resources to back that up or a community to support them, it's all on you. So yeah, I'd say for anyone who's starting, even if it's just one, like you have your resources, you have a support community, and you do a monthly call, that could be it. That could be a great
Yeah.
start. That's
As
that's
simple
how
as
I see it.
that. As
Simple
simple
as
as
that.
that. Yeah,
Like
I like
courses,
that.
community coaching, great start. And then I would really, really encourage everyone to consider the personal video thing. Personal video
Mhm.
welcomes, follow up with people, hustle in the beginning with it. Yeah, it's going to be, a lot of engagement and time, but man, it really starts to compound when people go, I don't want to leave. I can't imagine leaving this. It's like,
Right.
what a compliment for you to say you log in there every day or every other day. Like that's huge. I don't do that for any other communities. So yeah, like that's a huge compliment. So it
Well,
can be very
yeah.
overwhelming, but start small and then yeah, have to use the 3 C's. And I
Mhm.
didn't coin that term, by the way. But man, it's powerful. Yeah.
It is powerful, and I love what you're saying. And it seems simple because most of the people out there who want to do some type of academy or online community or something, they have a community. They're probably a coach or even a service provider. You can gather them around an idea. And if you got a course in there, they want to ask questions about the course because just having the community and you're going through the course helps so much. If you have this, it seems like an idea that I should know. Why can't I get it? And you put it in there, and then 5 people answer you, like, oh,
Mhm.
that wasn't so bad. So,
And
yeah, I
you
love
know,
that.
for folks early on too, I would highly recommend starting off with like a boot camp or a six
Mhm.
week sprint or something like that before you commit to doing an ongoing forever community.
Yeah.
Like I knew when I started this, I was in it for the long haul. I had already been a
Mhm.
course creator for several years and everything, but I think it's really important to see if you like it
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people do start communities and then they're like, oh my gosh, this isn't easy passive income. This is really
Mhm.
hard. I've done a lot of different types of work. I've sold products, I've sold services, I've done it all. Community building is by far the hardest that
Yeah.
I've done. It's easier now, but especially in the early days, like community building is very hard work. So,
Mhm.
and you do have to be a person who likes people and wants to interact with people. Honestly, like
Like some people.
some people should just be a product creator. You should
Yeah.
create products, you should sell them.
Mhm.
And if you don't really care, like if someone emails you and you really don't care about what they have to say or their challenges, then don't start a community.
Right.
It's not gonna go well. Um, some people are really good at products, some are good at services, some are good at software. Do that. Uh, but if you want to try a community out, I would say just give yourself a constrained, like, let's try it out. 6 month
Mhm.
program. Here's the course. It's backed with community, and I'll go live once a week for 6 weeks. And then after
Just
six
see.
weeks, if
Yeah,
you're
just
like,
see.
that was awesome, then roll it into something ongoing. After
Mhm.
6 weeks, if you're like this, I am drained. I never want to do this again. You're off the hook. You don't have to cancel
Right.
a membership. You're done.
I love that. That's some great advice for anybody wanting to. I guess, the whole thing is about people are trying to seek out passive income. Passive income is not really passive. We're working hard for this, whatever this income is. That's how I know that I have a little ways to go with my academy. That's why I stopped. I'm taking care of people in there, but I stopped like just obsessing over it. And I know, okay, a little bit more, because just look at what I did this year, just since June with my web design business and with the community there. So I know that it's possible with what I want to do, but you got to prioritize things. What's the most important thing for you to do? Do that. And then prioritize something else.
Yeah.
Justice,
I
go
was just
ahead.
gonna say real quick, because a lot of people are probably gonna start a community or a membership alongside something else. So
Mhm.
yeah, you don't want to get into a place where you start something that you can't sustain. And
Right.
that's very challenging. So yeah, I love the idea of like a sprint, do something in
Mhm.
like a 6 week format or 2 month format, see if you like it. That goes with everything, by the way. When I started a
Yeah.
podcast, I just did an interview series for I interviewed 9 other people. I loved it. I really
Mhm.
enjoyed conversations. A couple of people said you're a great interviewer, and I was like, I think I could do this, you know, once a
Right.
week for a long time. So it's kind of the basic recommendation of try it out first before you commit.
Mhm. And just test
Yeah,
and
test it out.
see. Wash, rinse, and repeat. And sometimes you don't need to repeat. Just leave it alone. Let it go.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, I want to let you get out of here. This was amazing. I was looking so forward to talking with you. You did not disappoint. You're the same as always. Just like Alexis told me. She was like, he's the same. He don't change. Just like you see him in the group. He's like that in real life. And
Oh, that's a
right.
great point. I can't leave without talking about that real quick. Yeah, I feel like we just got started. So
I know, right?
Alexis is one of the founding members. I think she was like the 6th or 7th member. She's amazing. Just incredible story. She had the best year ever this year in 2024, like far surpassed her revenue from years prior. So she's incredible. But the reason I mentioned that is, yeah, I got to meet with her and a bunch of other pros in person last year. That's another big thing, is if you can get people together in person at some event or something at least once a year, it's huge, because that will carry over for months. I'm still buzzing off that event. That was last year. And it came at a really important point too, because my numbers were down at that point and I was doubting myself a little bit. I was like, is this what I should be doing? And then hearing their stories and meeting Alexis and the other pros, and then hearing them talk about, because unless you proactively ask for testimonials and stories, you're probably not going to get them unless you just randomly reach out. So yeah, that was huge. That I left that event going like, okay, this works. I just need to do better at marketing it, doubling down on what's working, being more present, sharing these success stories and wins. And then, coincidentally, my numbers started to go up big time after that. So,
but you never know until you get out there and do it. Like, we're telling people, because like I said, I was very selfish. I wanted you on here because I wanted all your secrets. I wanted to know, and a lot of stuff just from being in the Web Designer Pro community. You said the same thing that I kind of already knew. You're personable, you're active, you're managing people. And I knew that part about it and stuff. But sometimes it's just like, you just got to try it out and see what works. Because my unmarketing inner circle, I had that for 2 years. I really liked it, but it kind of fell off. And I kind of like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, but I want to do something different. But I've been working on the academy for a while, and it's had its peaks and valleys. And what I've started to do now with my web design clients, because I know that they have so many questions, that's one of the bonuses they get of getting a membership inside of the academy. So then I can work with them and they see me doing all this other stuff. So I'm working on it. It's
that's
like
beautiful.
like a little clay thing, because and what cemented me in that, it was one of your videos in, I think it was a web designer course, where you said, your people are going to have questions, maybe create a page that's not customer facing and just give them the link to it. And you tell them all this stuff. I was like, well, shoot, I got over 300 videos. That's what I'm going to do. So I started the people who came in to do websites. I knew they would need marketing. So I'm like, hey, and you get a membership in the Unmarketing Academy. And that's how I'm building it right now. So I know I got people locked in. And
I love that. Love that.
Yeah. So, hey, you do a lot of stuff and you don't even know. You don't even know how much you help us out there.
And there is a lot of, I think that is kind of a new thing for web designers. There's a lot of opportunity now for some sort of support, like customer support community. And I mean, you tell me, clients probably get a website from you and then they realize, oh my gosh, Carol is like, she's a marketing, guru. She's got a whole academy. She's teaching other people. As a client, talk about like upsell opportunity left and right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If you can roll people into, and even like if you're selling a marketing plan, you could say, when you're on our marketing plans, you also get the support community and they could join monthly calls or whatever. I mean, I think there's a real huge opportunity that web designers are sitting on for getting clientele together and being more of almost like a coach or consultant in that realm. And if you have clients that are similar, or like you, who have a focus on marketing, you're sitting on gold. So it's awesome. And it's a win-win, because they learn and they can stay connected and keeps you top of mind. I could go on and on about the benefits of community, membership.
I know, but they talk to each other. That's a good thing. And they find out things, like, for instance, the lady that I was telling you with the web design thing, I'm in this other group that is all about collaborations, right? And I saw a podcast that she should have in her inventory, and it's called 9 to 5 something, like Christians in the 9 to 5 community or something. And I messaged her and I was like, hey, do you know about this podcast? And she was like, no, I need to put this in my thing. Are you going to be on it? I was like, no, this was in another group. And I just wanted to make you aware of it. So I'm always, and I know you do this as well, thinking about my people, where they are in their journey, what they're doing, how I can help them or how I can assist them in other ways, so that when they come to me and they say, Carol, I need this right here. Oh yeah. It's either paid or free or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm a resource, because I know you're a resource, because I message you when I need something and you get back to me and you tell me stuff. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. Thanks, Josh. And then I'm on my merry way.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. And the cool thing about that too is a lot of, I feel like a lot of client success is hidden from web designers. It's like, oh, you got a client result. That's awesome. Maybe you'll get a testimonial on your page. Like, that is the opportunity to repurpose that for your other clients. Yes. Ideally in a community like this of clientele, but also in newsletter or a podcast or an interview series or something. But yeah, I mean, that's the really cool thing about having a support community for clients is if one client shares their win that Carol helped me with, then you might have, 30 other clients that see that and they're like, ooh, I want to do that too. It's a lot easier to sell to people who are your current clients, because they already know, like, and trust you, instead of having to go find new clients all the time. So yeah, another big
key. Yeah. That is a key, y'all. You can sell to the people that you have now without trying to look at other people that don't even know you. And you can resell stuff.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Resell, upsell, or I mean, a lot of clients just don't know what you're doing if you're doing, especially marketing services. So if you get an SEO win and one client's like, oh my gosh, I worked with you 4 years ago. I didn't know you were doing this. I would love to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So sell to the people who are you're already selling to.
Yeah. I find that people don't really listen until they need something. So you can tell them all day long, I shine black shoes. I shine black shoes. I shine black shoes.
Yeah.
And they will come to you and say, oh my God, do you shine black shoes? That's what I was looking for. Like, yes.
And a lot of people, I think a lot of people can't visualize a result sometimes. Like as web designers, we know what a Google ranking would do, or we know what a win would do, like with contact form submissions, with conversion rates. Clients don't really think like that. It's because it's not their world. It's not what they do. So if they see a result and they see like, yeah, we got a lot more contact submissions, our revenue increased by 20% or something, they're like, oh, now that's interesting. Yes. So they need to see results,
testimonials. I plaster them everywhere, always testimonials. Even in the podcast, y'all will see as we go on, I have a client spotlight that's going to be coming up, and I pick one of my clients and talk about them, because I think that the more success my clients have, the more I have. We're just lifting each other up, 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 up. And so I want to keep that going. And you do that same thing, Josh. You put people on your podcast, you get them in the hot seat, and you make them quit their job. No, you don't make them quit their job. You tell them that they can't quit their job. But when they do, oh, I was thinking about this. You need to have some type of that was easy button or something. Because, when we have cancer treatment, when you get through the chemo, you go ring that bell, ding, 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 I'm finished. Yeah. So when people like quit their job, because a lot of us in there, I haven't had a job in like almost 30 years, but there are some people out there who are going from the other E, the employee, to the entrepreneur. So a bell or something that they do.
I love that idea. You saw Ben just went full-time 2 weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So no, that's a great call. Yeah. I mean, I thought about putting like a little swag or package together, but I love that idea of, like ring the full-time bell or something like that. I mean, most people post about it, but
ring the entrepreneur bell, something. I don't know how we could do that so they could all see it, but I think it would be good, because it's one of those things that's, dang, I did it. That's great. I know he had been talking about it for months. He'd been fretting over it, him and his wife and stuff. I told him I was so happy. I have not even listened to that piece yet, because I've been busy trying to get other stuff doing. But I said this week I'm going to go back and listen to that call, because I want to see and hear when he did it, because I'm just so proud of him. I'm so proud of the community all together with the stuff that we are doing, how we're making waves in the entrepreneurial world. When you think about web, I design websites, and people are living off of this. I'm living off of the money that I get from designing websites and having people, work with me. So,
and
hey.
look, Carol, you're a huge part of it. What you said right there is key. You just shifted from your community to you said we're doing this. And I found when somebody says we, that's like there could be no better compliment for a community builder than when somebody says our community or we do this.
Yes, we're doing that. We're for everybody. And I just want to let everyone know that's listening right now, you can do this too. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what you're doing or whatever. You can create an online community that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, and brings you money. That's what we need. Money. All right, Josh, I'm going to let you get out of here. But before we go, I know you had a little something to tell our people. We always like gifts or something, but what you got?
Yeah. So I told you before, I feel bad because I don't really have any resources for community builders at this time. I'm all in on web designers. But I do have, my podcast is free. My YouTube channel is free, tons of free resources. I would just say go to webdesignerpro.com. And there's going to be some information there. At the time when this comes out, I'll also have a couple of free trainings that can help start a web design business. Even if you're not a web designer, if you're curious about what that would look like, that'll be a good help. So yeah, just go to webdesignerpro.com. There'll be a ton of links there for freebies and to check out Pro if anyone's interested.
Yes, great. Awesome. Y'all go do that. Check it out. So Josh, thank you so much because, being my coach, I claim you as my coach now, but being my coach, you know how coaches are sometimes, I ain't got time for you little person there. But when I just want y'all to know, when I asked him, he was like, I'm there. Just let me know I'm here. So, that means a lot to me when the people that I'm learning from, that are mentoring me, that are helping me can say, hey, I'm willing to help you with something. Cause I do that all the time with my people, all the time. So that means a lot. So thank you.
Absolutely. Listen, any member of Pro who has a podcast, just let me know. Cause I will absolutely jump on and talk shop. So this has been great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye everyone.
Thanks, Carol. Keep it up, Carol. All right. I'm your coach. So I'm going to tell you, keep it up. Let's make 2025 the best year yet.
You got it.
So again, there may be a time and place for you where you want to consider having a customer membership or customer support community of some sort. So I hope what Carol and I discussed in this one helps you. Again, you could do it low end, low key, or you could really make it a big part of your business. In fact, Eric, the CEO of my agency In Transit Studios, is one of the biggest parts of our business and biggest parts of our MRR now, on top of our support and growth plan. So many opportunities and cool things in this wonderful world we live in web design. I would love to hear from you. I know Carol would as well. You can drop us a comment for the show notes at this episode, which are going to be found at joshhall.co/367. So check that out. And again, highly recommend tuning into Carol's podcast, Unmarket Your Business, which you can find at unmarketyourbusiness.com. And let her know you heard her on the show. And if you enjoyed this chat, I'm sure she would love to hear from you. So you can find her there and all the socials and everywhere she's active. Again, for all the links to connect with her and to hear her podcast, go to joshhall.co/367. All right, friends, cheers to building some MRR with potentially your own customer community. Make sure you subscribe because we've got some more doozies ahead, some awesome conversations that I'm really excited to share with you here soon. So subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.